Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's time now for the nation's sharpest opinion. Top ex-envoy, ex-Indian High Commissioner Ajay Bisaria has revealed the inside story of what went on diplomatically and behind closed doors post-Pulwama in Pakistan, and how the Narendra Modi government, through coercive and effective diplomacy, had Pakistan at its knees. And despite so, Prime Minister Modi refused to take a quivering Imran Khan's call at midnight. If you go through the revelations, and I've only read some, then the entire narrative of the Lutyens media, the Western propagandists, is, in my view, completely smashed. I remember from the newsroom, there was a belief that retaliation would come. The only question was when. I also remember these so-called journalists and Lutyens pontificating about how India's response must be to open up the line and talk to Pakistan. This typical Aman Ki Asha approach. I recall these people on tweet after tweet, morning, day and night, saying Imran Khan was winning the narrative because Wing Commander Abhinandan was given back as some sort of peace gesture. And I remember saying on television then that it was not. What is revealed by the insider diplomat, Mr. Bisaria, who's joining me live tonight, is that it was actually the no-nonsense, no-talk, no midnight call, even in a moment, that we had our officer abducted by Pakistan that ensured that we got him back home and safely. Ladies and gentlemen, what is clear as day is that the Modi government doesn't tweak its policies situationally. There is a sense of pride and vindication today that even in that moment, even in that pressure moment, we didn't give a line or an inch to the Pakistanis at the highest level. We didn't bargain, we set terms, and we had our way. And that has been the way the Modi government has operated, whether from that moment you see the way they responded to Ukraine or COVID. And everyone in the ecosystem, from the army chief to the diplomats to the Prime Minister himself, were very clear that the answer on Pulwama would not be a diplomatic one. Therefore, as an Indian tonight, we must feel a great sense of pride in that. Things, you see, have changed in this country. Today, we don't have any Sharm el-Sheikh moments, some brief, meaningless asides at the UNSC, some accommodative track 2, 3, 4, 5 diplomacy. We have a clear policy vis-a-vis Pakistan, and one that simply does not relent, does not give in, does not get coerced into the bullies of the Western world with the narrative setting that's been thrust on us through decades. Today, the Modi way is one in which we set the terms unapologetically, from Pakistan to Russia to Israel, no matter who's miffed by it, no matter what new woke terms they brand us by. Our policy is nationalistic, hyper-nationalistic, if you will, and my view is that we must ensure that we have it no other way.
घबराना नहीं है, लिहाजा हमें बड़ा सोच समझ के एक्शन लेना था.
The then Pakistan Prime Minister's famous quote. But India's then top diplomat to Pakistan says all was not well. Former Indian High Commissioner Ajay Bisaria has made big revelations in his book. Bisaria reveals that deposed Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan panicked post the Balakot strike. Bisaria says that Imran Khan tried to call Prime Minister Modi to avoid escalation.
Trying to de-escalate the situation, the Prime Minister of Pakistan attempted to call the Prime Minister of India. And the point also here is that the Prime Minister of Pakistan was then felt obliged to take a decision, because the threat of force was very credible, to return the pilot in order not to escalate the situation.
The call was made a day after the Balakot strike. The reason for the panic? 9 Indian missiles aimed at Pakistan. PM Modi had refused to entertain Imran Khan's request. A day later, Pakistani government announced release of Wing Commander Abhinandan.
After Pulwama, India had taken action in Balakot, and that was followed by Pakistan's operation, which it called Swift Retort, in India, and as a result of which an Indian pilot Abhinandan Varthman Abhinandan was captured. He fell in Pakistan and he was captured. So what I've tried to do is present an account of the coercive diplomacy that took place after that to get the pilot back. And there was a very credible threat of force of the use of 9 missiles. Pakistan made the choice of returning the pilot, not wanting to escalate that conflict.
This is one of the many times how India made Pakistan get down on its knees. Let's debate.
Mr. Bisaria, many congratulations. I really look forward to reading your book in its entirety. It's absolutely riveting, you know, what I have heard and read about it so far. Mr. Bisaria, you know, tell us about that moment, you know, where Abhinandan had been abducted by the Pakistanis, and India had to explore its options. Just give us as much of an insider view as possible as to what happened at that moment that led to the decision making.
Thanks, Arnab. Great to be here and great to be talking about this episode, which I've captured in my book, among many others. It's a 560-page book, an account of what happened from 1947 to 2023. But this is a particularly telling account, as you said in your opener, because what it demonstrated was India's capacity to use coercive diplomacy and India's will to use coercive diplomacy and in an effective way. So what had happened, in fact, at that time was that on the 27th of February, we had discovered that an Indian pilot had been taken prisoner, and that was Abhinandan. And there were these videos that were circulating suddenly, what we call very vulgar machismo of showing his bloodied nose and so on, that he was present in Pakistan, and all international norms and Geneva protocols demanded that a prisoner of war be returned unharmed. After that, a series of developments took place, and India activated global diplomacy, very direct diplomacy, but accompanied most importantly with a very credible threat of force, which made Pakistan change its position and return the pilot quickly. Now, blow by blow, I have talked about this, but what essentially happened is that there was a request from Imran Khan to try and speak to PM Modi to try to de-escalate the situation. But India's ask was very clear: please release the pilot. There was talk in Pakistan with other diplomats and with the Indian acting High Commissioner. Pakistan was saying that they have credible information that India has directed 9 missiles against them. This they even put out in the public domain, and they were trying to ask India not to do so. But India had made it very clear, overtly and otherwise, that the ask was to return the pilot, which would lead to de-escalation, and not returning the pilot would lead to escalation. So even before Imran Khan got up to make that statement in Parliament on the next day, that is the 28th, India already had information and credible assurances from various sources that Imran Khan would make that statement and the pilot would be returned in a defined timeline. So, which is what effectively happened. Imran Khan did make that statement and the pilot was returned the next day. So, I think the important point is that it was a successful use of coercive diplomacy, of a very credible threat of force, which in the words of foreign diplomats, had Pakistan completely spooked. And the evidence for that is also available in what happened in Pakistan's parliament, which a member of Pakistan's parliament revealed a year later that Shah Mahmood Qureshi, the foreign minister, and the army chief came to a closed-door session to brief parliamentarians. Imran Khan was supposed to be there as prime minister but refused to go for whatever reason. And they said, this parliamentarian said that Qureshi's legs were shaking and there was sweat on his brow. So I think that was evidence of the effectiveness of the message that India had conveyed.
What was Imran Khan hoping to achieve with that phone call?
Well, we can only speculate on what he would have wanted to do. He certainly wouldn't have called up to discuss the weather. He would have called up and tried to negotiate and talk about a timeline for the release of the pilot or whatever else. We don't know because the call didn't take place. But India was clear, India's policymakers were clear that there was nothing to talk about, there was nothing to negotiate. It was return the pilot or else. And that message had been conveyed through various sources. There was no need at that point for a conversation between two leaders.
Yeah, and in how much detail was the war or else referred to? You mentioned 9 missiles ready to attack Pakistan. How prepared were we to go to that extent?
Well, you know, my account does not mention what India was willing to do or was wanted to do, because I was not privy to that detail. And I don't want to talk about detail that I am not privy to, because in our system it's on a need-to-know basis. So that would certainly be a decision taken elsewhere. But what we have an account of is what Pakistan themselves were telling the foreign diplomats. That was what Mike Pompeo, for instance, was talking about the US Secretary of State when he spoke to his counterpart, Sushma Swaraj. So Pakistan itself was saying that they had credible evidence that India was about to launch 9 missiles on them, and that is the evidence I've cited. I've not even gone into Indian sources, but the evidence is clear from Pakistani sources.
So in a way, that moment also called their nuclear bluff, didn't it? I mean, if you look at the way we responded, did it also call out their nuclear bluff?
Well, I think that was not an issue under discussion at that point of time, because if you see the dynamics of strategic escalation, what Pakistan had done in Pulwama was in the sub-conventional space. What India had responded with a preemptive strike on terrorist targets, also in the sub-conventional space. So there was not even an escalation into the conventional space of a war, say like Kargil or 1965. So the question of going into a nuclear space of escalation did not arise. That is a bluff or nuclear saber rattling that Pakistan had used 2 days earlier when it said that its a nuclear command authority had met. But that wasn't fooling anyone, certainly not in India.
In the book, you talk about how within the Indian government that preceded the Balakot, talks within our government preceding the Balakot strikes on Pakistan. You mentioned that you had conveyed to both Prime Minister Modi and then Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj the diplomatic options were limited. Just as much as you can share about how that, obviously how the government was responding, how quickly was the decision-making process gone through. If you can give us some sense, because we are very, very curious. Our viewers are very, very curious that in that moment, how is the decision taken? As much as you can share.
Certainly. So, between the Pulwama attack on the 14th of February and Balakot, there were just 12 days. And I was here in those 12 days meeting calling on the Prime Minister, the NSA, the External Affairs Minister, in fact all members of the Cabinet Committee on Security. I was briefing them on exactly what was happening within Pakistan, and the indications I did receive, particularly from the External Affairs Minister, was that something would be planned which would be bigger than the surgical strikes. It was also mentioned to me by the then Chief of Army Staff, General Raat, who I believe mentioned it to you as well at some point, that something big would happen.
Yes.
And deliberately, I did not make any more inquiries into that issue, but my political assessment or my assessment of the situation, I did share with the leadership that our diplomatic options are limited in terms of talking, not talking, stopping trade, not stopping trade, and those are not enough. We would have to go into the territory of using hard power options. I did share that assessment quite widely with our decision makers, and they clearly they had the same assessment in their own mind.
Final question. You had also mentioned in your book apparently that we should have responded with surgical strikes even after 26/11, and I haven't read that exact bit, but you know, sometimes it comes down to a political decision, doesn't it, Mr. Bisaria?
Absolutely. And you know, with the benefit of perfect hindsight, if you look at the sweep of the relationship in this century, certainly yes. I think having something like a Balakot as a response to the Mumbai terror attack would have prevented a lot of bloodshed and a lot of other action, because it would have entered Pakistan's calculus that the cost of inflicting terror will be very high on Pakistan and its security establishment. I have in fact made a deeper point that if you look at the entire sweep of the relationship and consider the 1980s when India faced terrible proxy terror in Punjab, in the 90s when it faced it in Kashmir, and in the 2000s when it faced it all over India, if we had taken hard power decisions in the 80s, in the 90s, in the 2000s, we would have prevented subsequent use by Pakistan of proxy terror. And of course, the caveat should be that it also depends on the national capacity, the national will, and the national leadership at that point of time. But certainly all this has come together now for us to be able to have a suitable answer, an appropriate answer for subconventional warfare.
I would really look forward to reading this, Mr. Bisaria, and I would only say in conclusion, when I listen to something like this, as we move towards being the third largest economy in the world, we need a stronger and stronger geostrategic depth, which can only come out of clear and not confused political decision making. Mr. Bisaria, congratulations, and I look forward to reading that and talking more to you in the future. Thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Arnab. Great to be here.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, now joined by General G.D. Bakshi and from Islamabad by Dr. Saeed Ilahi and Major Yasir Janjua on this. Major Janjua, Imran Khan kept making the phone calls. Narendra Modi didn't pick up the phone calls. He went and made the statement. There were 9 missiles that were clearly pointed at you, right? And you had to give in. G.D. Bakshi, sum total of this. Fantastic insider account. How do you view this in terms of, you know, what lesson we gave the Pakistanis at that moment?
Arnab, I'd like to point out that we had for a long number of almost decades been self-deterring ourselves into impotence, because in the previous government dispensation, there was a lot of American pressure not to respond to Pakistan, because Pakistan was then, serving as its frontline state, and for all the antics in Afghanistan, for which it was taking a hefty sum of money from the Americans. So the previous government self-deterred itself. It gave more priority to American interests than to our own. So it is a very clear enunciation of, the retaliatory doctrine that when the Uri, attack took place, we responded with a surgical strike in 2 to 3 kilometers depth, employing our special forces. It was very neat, very clean, and it was a very stark reminder to Pakistan that don't mess with us. Don't rock the boat. You can be in trouble. You are inviting trouble. For many months, Pakistan was quiet, but then again it regained confidence. It thought we could handle such smaller level raids. So then it escalated to Pulwama. When it escalated to Pulwama, the Indian government decided that the time had come when enough was enough. As the ambassador very rightly pointed out, we should have retaliated post 26/11. We should have done this post 26/11. A lot of the troubles that we had in between would not have happened. But we did react after
it's true,
Pulwama,
General Bakshi.
and our mirages delivered.
Yeah, but General Bakshi today, General Bakshi, what I'm saying is that it's so important that people like Janjua and Dr. Ilahi understand the real status of their country. The real status of their country. They got scared. And I remember Major Janjua, Imran Khan said that I have been trying to call Narendra Modi, I have been trying to speak to him on the phone many times since yesterday evening. But he's not taking my phone call. I want to make it clear that we Pakistanis do not want to escalate the situation with India any further. You see, you got scared.
Arnab Goswami.
See, Major Janjua, you got scared. You got so scared. You want, and you know, Army Chief Qamar Javed Bajwa said that if you don't return Abhinandan, there will be hard action by India. And he's quoted as saying there is serious danger of the crisis escalating. If India takes hard action, we will be in trouble. These were the exact quotes. See, Major Janjua saying one thing, trying to be smart on TV, trying to think you are equal to India and all that. This is the reality. You were scared, you were pleading to us. Yes, please, continue. You were scared and you were pleading to us as confirmed by Imran Khan, by Bajwa, and now delightfully put together by Mr. Bisaria.
Right. Delightfully put together by Mr. Ajay Bisaria, because obviously he's trying to sell his book, and I don't see why would an Indian diplomat who's come back from Pakistan would not want to cash out his time, and that's exactly what he's doing. So concocting facts from his side and to sell the book to an Indian audience.
Imran Khan, an Indian diplomat. No, right. Why did Imran Khan say the same thing?
Right.
Why did Imran Khan say the same thing? Was Imran Khan trying to sell a book?
General Bakshi, let me complete and then you'll get your chance. I have not even started. So forget about Imran Khan for a moment. Let's do the chronology of events. Okay? So the fact is, which you can't deny, that you striked at Balakot and killed some crows and downed some trees, and you claim that we have killed 200 or so Mujahideen or what, which the world could not verify because there were none. There were only trees and crows that you downed. The fact is, after that, the Pakistani DG ISPR came on live and he said, we will respond at a time of our choosing. And the day we strike, your Indian Army chief was in a brigade headquarters and we took that target and we did not engage him because we did not want to escalate. However, we said we will choose our own time and strike back, and we showed you in the world that our aircraft lured your aircraft into our territory. He was so naive that he was lured into our territory, and the moment he crossed Pakistani territory into our territory, We struck him down, and Ajay Bisaria has accepted that he was arrested in Pakistani territory. So
let me
there is
quote.
an acceptance.
One minute. Let me quote. No, let me quote. 1 minute. Let me quote Major Janjua, Dr. Elahi, the Speaker of the National Assembly during the PMLN government said, "Our legs are shaking. Our forehead is perspiring." Bajwa said, "If we don't end the crisis, India will escalate. India will take hard action." Imran Khan said, "I am trying to call Narendra Modi many times. I am not able to reach him."
Pakistan.
Bhaiya, these are statements by your speaker. No. 1 minute. Can you, Dr. Elahi, can you disown these statements? Can you disown these statements?
Oh my goodness.
These are all political statements which are normally narrated in the parliament or in the press. I think the question was that the attack on Balakot and the retaliation by Pakistani Air Force and downing the plane, arresting Mr. Abhinandan, and when he was arrested, he has passed his urine in the pants. He was trembling, shivering, and the Pakistani army saved him from the locals who were about to kill him.
Watch your language,
and
boy.
safely he was brought back to Air Force headquarters.
General, just watch your language.
And
watch
by
your
being
language.
very gracious,
watch your language, you country of cowards. 1 minute. 1 minute. Let me tell you who was wetting his pants. Let me tell you, 1 minute. Now, if I ask you a question, don't respond physiologically like that. But listen to me. You have a defense minister. Mr. Elahi, 1 minute. Let me give it back nicely to you. Let me hit you back very nicely now. Very nicely. Please be ready. I'll hit you nicely. Don't worry.
Sir, I have
you have a
the
defense
fact.
minister, Parvez
I'm not
Khattar.
concocting any story.
General Bakshi,
When
Parvez
Abhinandan was
their
arrested,
defense
he
minister
has
was
passed
asked.
his urine in the pants.
Their defense
He was
minister
shivering,
was
trembling.
asked. 1 minute. 1 minute. Their defense minister was asked.
I'm telling you the facts, sir.
The Indians came in, they bombed us, and they went back. Why could we not retaliate? The defense minister said, "You see, you have to understand the Indian planes were..." Listen to me. What he said.
Pakistan,
I am quoting your defense minister. आपको शर्म आती है क्या? आपके रक्षा मंत्री को कोट कर रहा हूं, जिनको पूछा गया कि भारत के प्लेन्स ने आके बॉम्बिंग कर दी, आपने क्या की? तो उन्होंने कहा भाई साहब, उन्होंने क्या कहा? मेरी बात तो सुन लीजिए. उन्होंने कहा, he said, Mr. Elahi, look here. He said, Mr. Elahi, I don't mean, मैं तो बोलता हूं, मैं मीन नहीं करता, मैं डायरेक्टली बोलता हूं. उन्होंने कहा, Indian planes were very fast. 5 jets came, they dropped the bombs. We could not retaliate because it was dark. We could not see the planes. We had to wait till the morning.
And we downed your plane in
then
broad
what happened
daylight.
next day?
Came in the
The
dark.
retaliation
We
was
downed
very
your
good.
plane in broad daylight.
That's what they
Planes were
said.
Shot down.
That's what he said, General Bakshi. We couldn't see them because रात के अंधेरे में हम plane नहीं देख पाए.
9 missiles would have
This is a statement by your defense minister. This is a statement by your defense minister. General Bakshi, did he not say that?
Can I respond to this,
because
gentleman?
they were not ready, but once they were ready, they hit back in a proper way.
Yeah, please do. Give it back to him. General Bakshi, go on.
They were not
With
ready.
all my support.
All right. All right. Now let me, I've heard you with patience. Let me put across the Indian viewpoint. Your assertion that we had killed some crows and ripped off the tops of some trees, would you have retaliated the next day had nothing happened? I mean, it doesn't stand to reason or logic. Look at what you are saying. And all this crap about, a very brave officer. You are very ill-informed of the facts. The facts of the matter are...
1 minute now. Come on. General Bakshi is speaking, please.
Your army chief was sweating in the brow and shaking. His legs were shaking when he entered your parliament.
Dreaming, sir.
Oh, yeah.
He knew what was coming next, all right? He knew what was coming next. The threat was extremely credible. So credible that you quietly handed over the Wing
Not
Commander
quietly,
to
openly,
us,
sir.
Abhinandan,
On the border,
the very
on the border.
next day, and
The
what
ashamed and
Ambassador
humiliated
Bisaria
pilot
has
was handed
taken
over on
ripped off the secret, taken off the cloak of secrecy is the fact that your Prime Minister wanted to speak to our Prime Minister in the dead of night because he also was sweating. Now, I won't get into derogatory language about your Prime Minister, but he is quite capable of doing what you were alluding to, a very braveheart soldier, braveheart air warrior. He is one of the best, he is one of the finest. He shot down one of your planes and damaged another. There is talk of that two of your planes have gone down
on the
which you are
record.
trying to hide.
Where is
And
that
he
plane
did it
that he
over
shot down?
your damn territory. All right? He did it over your damn territory. He was fighting with a MiG-21, which is a 4th generation aircraft with a 4.5 generation aircraft. And that is the ratio of the exchange. So don't give us this balloony. Don't give us this
Because
crap,
I think
all right?
Mr. Bakshi is just
Facts
dreaming.
speak for themselves.
There was
Arey
no
bhaiya,
fact
let's ask
is
them a
number
straight
one,
question.
that you felt
One minute.
one minute. Because you were hit
Here's a
hard
question to you.
by
Here's
your
a question
mirages.
to you, to
Fact
the
number
Pakistanis.
two, that the very
Here's a question to the
next day,
Pakistanis,
you
General Bakshi,
sent
from
back
my side.
From
Wing
facts.
Commander Abhinandan.
The humiliation
These facts speak for
did with-
themselves. And in the light of what the ambassador has said,
I have only one question to ask the Pakistanis at the end. I have one question to the Pakistanis at the end.
Sure.
Think about it. We will retaliate. We will retaliate. We will retaliate. We will retaliate.
retaliated
One day
also,
we'll
sir.
retaliate. Next year we'll retaliate. अरे 5 साल हो
We
गए.
downed your plane,
अरे
Arnab.
5
We
साल
brought
हो गए.
them at the
कहाँ
same time.
retaliation?
We
ना
brought
अरे
your
5
plane
साल हो
down
गए
in broad
retaliate.
daylight.
Down your
जहाज
plane.
गिरा दिया
5 साल हो गए retaliate.
2 जहाज
Come
गिरा
on,
दिए
you-
5 साल से कहाँ है retaliation?
कश्मीर में
You don't have capacity to
brigade
retaliate.
पर hoovering करती
हमने
रही
Chinese
Muslim
colony,
I just want to
a Chinese
point out
colony
one fact
learning
that
Mandarin in
those
impoverished
guys-
circumstances.
Chinese are
Afraid of the
friends.
Taliban, nowhere to go.
Arnab, कौन सी
Ladies
बात
and gentlemen,
करते हो? हमने
ladies
तो
and
जहाज गिरा
gentlemen,
दिया
Chinese are
तुम्हारा।
friends.
we must read that book by
Not
Mr.
masters.
Bisaria for more
We are
details.